So we're about to talk about hoodoo in the Bible, and we are going to break this down, okay? Hey guys, this is Jacolia of Jacolia Jams. Thank you for once again coming back home, family. Now, if you happen to be here for the very first time, I hope you hear something that will persuade you to stay. For those of you guys returning, welcome home, family. If you have not already done so, exactly what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button, like the video, and comment down below. TikTok, this is Tierra_holiday. This video will be more than 10 minutes. So you're going to need to go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube page, Jacolius, JECOLI_A_S, Gems, GEMS. You could just click the little logo on my TikTok page. So let's jump straight into this. Hoodoo, HODU, is hoodoo, HOODOO. It is the mystical praise system and worship practiced by the Jews and Muslims, one and the same people, inclusive of Arabic people outside of the Israelite nation. So we'll just say Semitic peoples in India, called hoodoo in Hebrew. So the word hoodoo, HODU, in Hebrew means India. And in Persian, India is Hindu. So the word hoodoo is the word Hindu, is the word India in Hebrew and in Persian. When we begin to look at hoodoo, this is going to be the hay, the dialect, and the wav, with the U as the vowel indication. And this name for India begins to appear in the book of Esther. The book of Esther is written in Persia and the Persian captivity. It's essential to understand that Perez, who was the son of Judah and Tamar, Perez, his name was also spelled Peres, and it is stated in oral tradition and in written history that he became one of the main kings of the Persians. His name is also written as Paris, Pares, which would begin to take the tribe of Judah into Paris, France, to become the Franks or the freed man, line upon line, precept on precept. When we also begin to look at the Persians, it's essential to know that Shem has a son by the name of Elam. And Elam's territory reigned from ancient Mesopotamia and Babylon, which is going to give you modern day Iran and Iraq, which was along the Persian Gulf. So Elam, the Semite, was also seen amongst the ancient Persians, becoming one and the same. It's essential to know that the Enuma Elish, where people begin to say the book of Genesis plagiarized, this is not true. The Enuma Elish is an Elamite text, and Elam is the son of Shem. So we can begin to say that the Elamites were the writers of the creation story in the book of Genesis, just based off of everything we just lined up. So when you begin to see the word India in the Bible, it's important to know that in the Hebrew language, it would read as hoodoo. This would be the name of the Israelites in the Indian subcontinent by diverse groups. You have your Cochin Israelites and you have the Beni Israel. It is essential to know that the Beni Israel would also be the Beni Ephraim. When Yeshu, or who the world likes to call Jesus, came, he said, I have come not but for the loss of the house of the lost sheep of the house of Israel. The house of Israel is also called the northern kingdom. It is also called Ephraim, the freedman, the Franks, okay? So when you begin to see them named Benai Ephraim in West Africa. This is what the Yoruba are known as. When they began to leave Spain and Portugal during the Ottoman and the Byzantine Empire to come back into sub-Saharan Africa, they began to be called the strange people, and Benai Ephraim, the sons of Ephraim, the sons of Israel. These people group are also seen in South America in great components in Cuba, the sons of Ephraim. And then you will also have your Bahadadis, and these are going to be the ones who would be seen amongst like the Berbers and the 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 Mizraim Israelites. These would be the Hagarian Israelites. And they are seen in India. They have thrived, or they are seen in Hoodoo for centuries. Generally peaceful, and peaceful means Salam, Islam, coexistence with Hindus and Muslims. That's because these are the same people. When we begin to look at the root for Muslim, it is going to be the Salam, the M is going to be the imperfect third person masculine form of Salam. So you begin to see the SLMS, and that is the same root for the Shalom. And when you begin to put the M on it, then you have Muslim. And these people groups, the Israelites, these Hindus, these Muslims, preserve unique traditions and celebrating shared history with India's cultures. And we've already lined up. This is because India goes back to Elam as well as to Perez, the son of Judah and Tamar. So when we begin to look at the cultural revival, modern conferences, Charade, Hoodoo, means songs of India. So every time you are singing a song, this is Hoodoo. Mommy screen recording. Hey baby, mommy screen recording. Good morning.
Hello.
Shabbat shalom. I love you. So whenever you sing a song, this is Charade Hoodoo, songs of India. And this is going to also lead to songs of praise, because we're going to see that Hoodoo also means praise. And so this is India's shared Israelite heritage, tradition, and evolving identities. This is unearthing the Hindu aspect of the Hebrews. Hoodoo is Hinduism of the Sephardic Jews in India. Mystical parallels between the Israelite mysticism, or the Kabbalah, which is dealing with the body as the tree of life, which is where you begin to get, is it called the Manchurian Man? I don't want to be wrong. On breaking down the ciphers of the body in correlation with the colors of the rainbow, scattering them out as what people would call chakras. And a chakra is simply a wheel. And we know that the Most High would be referred to as a wheel in the middle of the wheel. And a wheel is a circular device. And when we begin to look at the circle in Hebrew, this is going to bring us to the letter S, or Samek. And this letter, when you are dealing with the Sabine language, which comes out of the Cushitic people, but also the Semitic people, because Cush has a son by the name of Sheba, and Shem has a descendant by the name of Sheba, you begin to see that this would also be as the SH as well. So this would make the Sheen in Hebrew, which is SH, linguistically interchangeable with the Samek which is S in Hebrew or SH in Sabine. And this is the word for circle. The Samek means circle. And so when you begin to look at the Samek also means protection and shield. And so when you begin to look at the Samek, it equals to the number 60, excuse me. And in gematria, you would remove the 0, equating the Samek to the number 6, taking us to the 6th letter of the Hebrew alphabet, which is going to be the Yod. Yod or Yod is spelled Y-O-D. And this is very important because when you look at the root of Hoodoo, you're going to have that O-D. And we're going to see how this begins to tie in. And when you begin to look at the letter Yod, which equals 6, this also means the arm of the Most High. And so the arm and the hand are looked at as Azirs or delivers in the ancient Hebrew. And so when you begin to look at the circle or the shield of protection and the letter 6, this is why they begin to draw the 6-pointed star as the shield or the Magdine. When you look at the Torah is described as a fence, an enclosure. This is the true Ganaim or the true garden, not what Adam was trapped inside as a soul trapped. The Torah is the Samek or the circle of protection. And so when you begin to look at these wheels and they have their own colors on the inside of the body, this is what true herbalism and using the fruit of the ground as meat and using all the seed bearing fruit based on their colors in order to heal these certain wills on the inside of the body so that we can become one. The Yeshua began to say that the light of the body is the eye. And if the eye of the body becomes singular or becomes akkad, El Akkad is God Kad in Deuteronomy 6:4. The Most High or the heavens or the kingdoms, Hashem, the name, El is one. So in order for our body to become one, we have to take in fruits and we have to take in vegetables and we have to take in the herbs and the spices of the good God of creation in Genesis 1 in order for us to become a will within a will, in order for the kingdom that is within that Yeshua will begin to talk about to begin to rise up on the inside of us, for the eye of our body to become singular so that we can see God and we can become God. And this is why Jacob began to see God face to face as he battled on Peniel, Penel. This means the face of God. There is a Melech by the name of Phanel that means face. Thou shalt have no other God in my Phanel, in my face. And so when you begin to break all of these things down based on the mysticism of West African herbalism that is taught in the Bible during the times of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob before Moses, this will begin to take us to ancient Egypt in 1550 BC for the Hebrews or the Ebers, Ebers, and Eber we know is a descendant of Shem in the book of Genesis, papyrus. This was the book of herbalism that was being taught and that was being used. For whatever we bind in heaven, which is the unseen world, shall be bound in earth. The word bind is the definition for astringent. When you begin to think about astringent, you think about witch hazel. You think about lemon. You think about rose abstract. All of these things have the ability to bind. And so if they are able to bind natural defects and extremities, that means that it is able to bind the cause of the thing in the unseen spiritual world. And this is how herbalism begins to be implemented. And so when you begin to get the Israelites' mysticism and combine with the Indian philosophies of Hinduism and Buddhism, we will see shared deep similarities, such as the concept of the phenomenal world as an illusion. So they are stating that the mystics of the Israelites, Buddhism, and Hinduism see this earthen plane as an illusion, as a simulation, which is why Yeshua began to come to warn us and to tell us, with prophecy being fulfilled, speaking of the new heaven and the new earth. This is why Eve was awakened to tell Adam about his sleeping state, the worship of Yaldabaoth, to keep our soul trapped. This is why the psalmist begins to say, my soul has escaped from the snare of the fowler. Yeshua came to teach us how to defeat the principalities or the archons of the unseen world that dwells on the inside of us, that the world has called demons, in each house of the zodiac, and how they appear based up off of when we were born as individuals, and how they show up as personality traits, and the impact that the sun, moon, and the stars has up on us based on their placement in time and in season, so that whatever is bound in heaven, the binding of the Pleiades system, is spoken about in the book of Job. We have to bind our own 7-star systems. This is when Mary Magdala was able to bind the 7 demons or the 7 archons to become initiated as the high priestess of the alabaster, in order to anoint Yeshua, so that his soul would be able to escape and get through the houses of the zodiac, so that he could ascend and become the Son of God. The similarities between the Israelite, the Hinduism, and Buddhism has caused a lot of Israelites to explore Eastern beliefs, and this is because they are an Eastern people. We have been westernized to our core. So Hoodoo is the same name, Hodu, for, we've already covered that, for Hindu. It comes from the Sanskrit word Sindhu, Sindhu. So when we begin to look at the Sanskrit Sin, this is also a Babylonian and Hebrew word as well, showing that all of these languages existed during the same time period. And when I began to do a breakdown on the Sanskrit being linguistically related to the Kassite language of the Hermetic people groups, then we will begin to prove this as well, leaving Egypt in 1550 BC to go into the Indian subcontinent. Can you do my nails too?
It's personalized.
Huh?
It's personalized.
Okay. Sorry, y'all, my kids. Those are really pretty. Thank you, baby. To bring into the Indian subcontinent in 1550 BC, when the Hittites and the Hyksos and the Amorites were leaving ancient Egypt, they took this Kassite or Sanskrit language with them, with their horses and chariots, and this is what people would call the Aryan invasion. When we begin to look at Sin, S-I-N, this is going to be the Babylonian moon god, by which Moses began to reset the calendar to in the book of Exodus. It's essential to know that Midian, who is going to be the son of Abraham in 1600 BC, he became once again one and the same with the Sumerians and the Babylonians, making the practice of Midian as the Sumerian and Babylonians. So when Moses was born in 1492 BC, and he went into the desert of Midian, and he was taught the priesthood by Jethro, he was being taught Babylonian and Sumerian concepts. And he reset the calendar to Sin, the moon god of the Babylonians, and he went into Mount Sinai, Sinai, to begin to worship this moon god of the Babylonians. And Mount Sinai not only refers to the worship of the moon god, it also refers to the illumination. He was initiating, Moses was in the Illuminati. So when you begin to look at the word Sinite in Hebrew, it literally spells out Chinese. The ancient Sinites are Hamitic people, and they began to leave Mount Sinai and go into the Asian subcontinent to become the ancient Chinese, to continue the Sin, Song, and Sane dynasty. These are also going to be your Khoisan peoples of South Africa, which is where you begin to get the Asian eyes and the yellow skin, which is why they have the Yellow River. And the word yellow in the Edo of Nigeria and the Edo of Nigeria are Edomites. The word Edo means yellow. So when you begin to look at the Sindhu, this refers to the Indus River, and also where the word Hindu begins to come from in Persia. The term Hoodoo, Hoodoo, in relation to Bantu languages primarily involves etymological connections to certain Central African words, such as those from the Kikongo language. Y'all, I'm going to link down below. I may have to do a part 2 because I don't know how this is going to screen record. The Kikongo, I have already lined up that they are the founders of Messi Congo. The Kikongo of West Africa are the native Mexicans, the Aborigine Mexicans, the Kikongo. The Kikongo of West Africa are also the Kali Nango native Indians. Line up on line, precept on precept. So Hoodoo originates in Central Africa. When you begin to look at Central Africa, you have Cod or Chad. We say Chad, but in Hebrew, this is Cod. We've already begun to state that El Cod is the name of God in Deuteronomy 6:4, and we are called to make our body as Cod or as one, as Yeshua began to teach us. When we look at Central Africa, we will also see Libya. Libya was founded by the son of Cush, whose name is Poots. We can also begin to modernly see that the ancient Fulani are going to be your ancient Libyans or the son of Put. We also begin to know that the Israelites were seen as the Negroes amongst these Berber people in Libya. And when you begin to look at the Israelites being called stranger, this is going to be called Ger, G-E-R, in Hebrew, and sojourner, Gar. So they will be called Ger in Libya. And ancient Libya was originally called Germa, Germa. So the ancient Germas or the ancient Germans or the ancient Germans are going to be your ancient Fulanis, coming out of Put, as well as the stranger Negroes in Libya. And when you begin to also look at the fact that the Bible tells us in Genesis 10 that Japheth will dwell in the tents of Shem. Japheth has a son by the name of Gomar. And Gomar's root is GMR, which is going to be the reverse root of GRM for German. Gomer began to name his son Ashkenaz after him. Ashkenaz in Hebrew is German. So you have the ancient Germans out of Ashkenaz dwelling in the tents of Shem in Jarma, Libya, along the ancient Puts. And so this is how you begin to have all of these three sons of Noah being identified as the ancient German people. Line up on line, precept on precept. Other names for hoodoo is going to be Low Country Voodoo, Voodoo, and also Gullah Voodoo. When you begin to look at the Gullah Geechee comes out of a conglomerate of people. The ancient Philistines were also called Phel, Phel, as well as we know PH in language is linguistically interchangeable with F, so they were also called Fel. And when you begin to look at the ancient Philistines, they had a city by the name of Gath, Gath, which would begin to give you Gath of the Gitchi. When we begin to look at the descendant of Shem by the name of Peleg, Peleg, his name was also Pel or Fel. And he was also seen with the root of his name, meaning selling. And when you take his name PLG or PHLG, you get flag. This is the progenitor of the first flagship. These are a conglomerate of the sea people, making them the Fulla people. The Philistines were called Fulla and Fula. These are the ancient Fulanis, the ancient Philistines, and the ancient Peleg. And then we begin to look at Gether, who is going to be a descendant of Shem. His name was also called Gitti. So you have the Philistines, Peleg, and Gether coming together to be the Gullah Geechee, or the sea peoples that you see today. The word voodoo in Persian is Vadin, Vehrdn. So voodoo and Vudan is going to give you the root of Vdn. And in ancient Persian, this means good religion. Taking you to the good religion of Genesis, the first chapter, when Elohim created and it was all good. When we begin to look at another word for hoodoo, it is also called root work. Now, we know in the Bible they definitely used roots. When we look at another word for hoodoo, Hoodoo, it is called conjure. The word con, con in Spanish means with. The word con means together. This is going to be yakad, Yachad in Hebrew, with the root as akkad. That's mine. And yakad in Hebrew means units, together, and unite. And we already know that the root of yakad means one. And so when you begin to see Khan, it means yakad. The word jur means swear. The word swear in Hebrew is shaba, Shaba. And we already know that this is linguistically related to sheba, which is going to be the root. So shaba means swear. And the root of shaba is Sheba, Sheba. We've already stated that this is the name of a son of Cush, as well as a descendant of Shem. The name Sheba, which is the root of the word swear in Hebrew, means 7 and 70 times 7. So to swear in Hebrew, it has to be done 7 times and 70 times 7. This word Sheba also means complete. The good creation. When the sons of God came together, or Khan, and they made things all good, was completed, or Sheba, in 7 days, making the good creation of Genesis 1 automatically conjure work, just based on linguistics. When we began to look at the recipe for forgiveness that Yeshu gave Peter, he says 70 times 7. This is Jor. The word conjure in Hebrew is going to lead us to the definition of wizard in English. When we look at the word wizard in Hebrew, it means conjure. The meaning of it in Hebrew is yadoni. And the root of that is yada, meaning to know. And remember, the root of yada is also yod, which we went through at top. And the suffix of it is going to be to see, ayin. Yadoni, or wizard, or conjurer in Hebrew is one who sees and one who knows. They are called a spiritualist, one who confers with ghosts. So whenever you have an experience with the Ruach HaKodesh, you are operating as a conjurer. When the Holy Spirit, Mother Wisdom, began to dwell on Yeshu and say, this is my beloved son, because Yeshu began to say wisdom and her children. Wisdom in the Bible is called Berashit, or the principal thing. So the principal thing, or Genesis, wisdom was the creator in the book of Genesis as the good God, and she came together and was acquired according to the book of Proverbs. And acquiring is looked at as a possession. So El took and possessed her. This is the marriage of El and wisdom in the book of Genesis, to come together and to swear, to conjure a good creation, Vedin in Persian. Line up on line, precept on precept. And so when you begin to see the Yadoni, one who sees, one who knows, is being called a wizard. The root for wizard is Arabic, WZR. This is Wazir. Wazir in Arabic means helper. Helper in Hebrew is Azir. This is the first title of Eve in the Garden of Eden, making Eve a helperer, or a conjurer, a spiritualist. And when we begin to look at WZR, this is going to be VZR, or visor. So the visors, Eve was a visor, and a zir, a wizard. And the visors held the second highest position in Egypt to the Pharaoh. And the root of Pharaoh in Middle Egypt is Pere. And Pere in Hebrew means long-haired. But the root of that is para, meaning to be fruitful. And this is going back to the commandment in Genesis. Para is also the root of Ephraim's name, whose the suffix of his name is Epher, meaning dusty, which is the description of the Hebrews when they were called Ipiru. And this is also the definition of Abraham's son named Epher, whom out of him sprang the Afar people of Africa, who Africa is named after. And when you begin to go to the root of Epher, you're going to have the name Ophir share the same root. And Ophir is going to be the brother of Joktan. And Ophir literally means gold. And Ophir is mentioned in the book of Genesis amongst Havilah. And so we know that if the Joktan Arabs came out of Joktan, and then Joktan founded the Joktan Peninsula in ancient Peru, then Peru and Ophir is going to also be linked as the land of gold. Line up on line, precept on precept. And when you begin to look at Ophir's root of his name, PHR, this is going to bring you to the root of Pharaoh. The long-haired pharaohs came out of those who were called to be fruitful and multiply from creation, springing out of Ophir. And then when you look at Epher, the P and the PH could go into P, and then the P turns into the B, and you have Eber. So the ancient Eberites, the ancient Ephraimims, are those who were called to be fruitful and multiply as the visors and the long-headed pharaohs of ancient Peru and ancient Egypt. Line up on line, precept on precept. Another spelling for the word hoodoo is also going to be Hudu. This is plain. This is hoodoo. Another word for hoodoo is also going to be juju. When we begin to look at another possible etymological origin of the word hoodoo, it comes from the word hoodoo, Hudu, meaning spirit work. Do we not say that the Holy Spirit works on the inside of us? So in Bantu languages, and when you begin to look at the Bantu languages of the ancient Igbo, who language is identical to Hebrew, because they are also called Igbo, these are descendants of Eber, we begin to see that hoodoo means spirit work. And this comes from the Eel people, EWE, and this is a Hebrew word. This word in Hebrew means sheep. It is also the name of Rachel. So Rachel's descendants called hoodoo spirit work in West and Central Africa. Hoodoo is a dialect. It is a language of people groups in Ghana, Togo, and Benin. Hoodoo, Hudu, is a variant of Arabic Huda, Huda, and Hudud, Hudud. This relates to guidance, order my steps, be a guide, be a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my pathway. Limits. We know that the Torah is a fence and it sets the limits of what we can and cannot do. This is my arts or wisdom or the codes of Hammurabi. Come on. When we begin to see that this word hoodoo in Arabic means divine direction. Come on, line it up. Line it up, line it up. It appears as a female name, and it is also a legal term, hudud, for punishments. And we know that the laws of the Torah begins to line out punishments and repercussions. So the Torah in itself is hoodoo. It is the root for the word in Arabic meaning calm. Calm's root CLM. The C is linguistically interchangeable for S. So that's SLM, calm, peace, salam, Islam, Muslim, hoodoo. Hoodoo means boundary, definite, limit, guide. Hoodoo means right path. Hoodoo, Hudu, means right path. It is also going to mean in Hebrew and in Aramaic. It forms a verbal root meaning blessing or thanksgiving. So on Thanksgiving, it's not pagan. This was the worship of the green corn mother goddess. And we know that the corn or the grain, this is the festival of the earring. And when these native Indians had their turkey, the word turkey is shortened for hoodoo. They were dwelling in booths or Sukkoth, doing Thanksgiving, practicing the native customs. And when the Sephardic Jews and Moors came over, they celebrated with them until the conquistadors, who were also Sephardic Jews and Moors, but with Gentiles amongst them, came over. We had Thanksgiving or hoodoo together. We had praise together. Hoodoo is a blessing. Hoodoo is seen as a name on a scarab or a seal found in ancient Babylon. The inscription reads, belonging to Hoodoo the scribe, providing a concrete historical example of the name in using during a period when Aramaic was a prominent language in the ancient Near East. The book of Daniel, the book of Esther, the book of Nehemiah, some of the book of Isaiah. These books were written in Aramaic. The book of Jonah. Jonah wasn't even supposed to be in the Bible. That's a Persian book. And it was inserted that Yeshua went into the heart of the earth just as Jonah did. That was inserted. The heart of the earth biblically is defined as Jerusalem. He went into Jerusalem for 3 days before he ascended, and his soul was sick unto death. He did not die for 3 days and 3 nights. The Son did. And the winter solstice, if we want to talk about it, that was Yule. Hoodoo, Hodu, is defined as Yule in the Hebrew Strongs, in Indo-European language. Go ahead and research that for yourself. In Arabic, Huda or Hudawa means right guidance or right path. Okay? A pathway is a gateway. It's a journey. It's a door. The way, which what Yeshua called himself, I am the way, the truth, and the light. The way in Greek, because it's important to know that the Hebrew and the Phoenician are linguistically related to the Syriac. The Syriac came out of Aram. Aram is the son of Eber or Shem. Is the son of, Shem is the son of Shem alongside Asher. And so the Syriac language built up the Hebrew and the Phoenician language, and the Phoenician language created the Greek language in 900 BC, linguistically relating the Greek and the Hebrew language, making Bantu related to these languages. And we know Aramaic and Arabic are also cousin and brother and sister languages. So when you look at the word the way in Greek, it is Hudos, Hodos. Yes, the same root as Huda, which means the right way or the right path in Arabic. Line up on line, precept on precept. When we look at the ancient Japanese script, it is identical to ancient Hebrew. Undeniably. And when you begin to look at the ancient Japanese, they are called the Edo of Japan, which we've already stated are the Edomites in Nigeria, the yellow people of Nigeria. They are also called the Anu, and Anu is the god of these people in ancient Mesopotamia. And Anu is worshipped as Danu, the goddess, by the Irish people, the Celtics, who left Egypt and went into Corona, Spain, and into Ireland. And Irish is an insular language directly related to Arabic. When we look at the word the way in Japan, it is dojo, Dojo. And we know that, am I going to do that in this video? I'm not going to do that in this video, I don't think. Dojo is a place or a hall for immense learning or meditation. This is traditionally in the fields of martial arts. The term means place of the way. For us, this would be a temple. The dojo originates from Buddhism, meaning way or path. In ancient Chinese, it is Dao, D-A-O. So Dao is also going to be Tao, which is give you Taoism. And so Do and D-O in Japanese is going to be the dos in the way of Greek, and the old as the reverse root. Y'all see how all of this lines up? I hope we do. When you begin to look at Jodo, G-U-D-O, it means gentle way in Japanese, or judo. What are Israelites who believe in Yeshua called Judeo-Christians? Judeo-Christians. When we begin to look at all of this, what exactly are we doing? The Greek word for way is hudos, as I stated. It can refer to a literal world, journey, or path, but it's also used figuratively to mean a way of life, manner, or conduct. This is specific in the New Testament to a faith or a lifestyle. So the hodos, the jodo, the judo, the hudos, the hoodoo, the juju. When you begin to look at hoodoo, it likely refers to Judeo-Persian mysticism, where Israelite mystics and Persians deeply integrated Sufi practices and themes, adopting Persian poetry, as well as devotional songs into their Kabbalistic traditions, creating a unique blend evident in poetry and in mystic dialogues between the Israelites and the Muslims. Although there is no direct Hebrew meaning for juju, the term juju is of West African origin, referring to magical charms. Beliefs through some theories suggest a linguistic link to Jew or Judaism due to perceived similarities in ritual sacrifice by Europeans. The Europeans identified the same customs amongst West African Juju and Judaism. These European people were likely Sephardic Jews. Juju is a spiritual belief and practices of amulets. And we know they had amulets in the Bible. We know that there are spells in the Bible. Spell literally means word. Dabr in Hebrew is the word. The book of John said that the word was there in the beginning. Sayings, speech, utterings, rituals. We can't deny the rituals. Common in West Africa, Nigeria, Benin, etc. Associated with luck, protection, or harm. The book of Psalms originated. The term generally traced to West Africa traditions, not Hebrew, but we just said the JoJo, Juju, Judaism. This was linking to African sacrifices. And we know that sacrifices are seen all throughout the Bible. When we begin to look at the word Jew in Hebrew, you are going to have Yehudi. This refers to the Judeans or to Judah, Judahites. And we begin to see that the root of this is Yada, Y-A-D-A-8. That Yad, Y-A-D. That's going to be the same word for the Yod, the sixth letter, the sixth number, the arm of the Most High. This word is the root of Judah, which means praise or thanksgiving. So Yada and Hoodoo has the same meaning. Praise, thanksgiving. It means to confess or to throw away. A stone, to cast a stone. He who was out sin, Hoodoo, cast the first stone. Yada is also seen as the name of God. So that would mean that Hoodoo would be also the name of God. 1 Kings 8:33. Joyful, to give thanks, a humble confession, but never in silence. When we turn to the book of Psalms 136:1, I want you guys to go to this in Bible Hub for yourself. It says, "Oh Hoodoo, oh give thanks." And when you click on that, it's going to be Strong's 30:34, and it's going to say, "Oh Yada." So every time you see the word praise, thanksgiving, or India in the Bible, instead of Yada, it should say Hoodoo. Oh Hoodoo unto the Lord, for he is good, and his mercy endureth forever.